cameras loaded. That means you have 60 seconds to get there and start your lift. She walks out on stage.
Before that,
Adrian's giving the ammonia.
The ammonia sniffing salts, right? It's like,
Yeah.
take a breath, Megan. Take one deep breath. Focus on what you're doing. Then I want you to set. Once you've got your set up, focus on the bar. And I want you to get the let out. I want you to focus first, get everything set, just let it go quiet, and then give it everything. And what I said to her, I was like, you're stronger than all the other women here. Show them why you are. That's what I said right before she walked out.
So she walks out. She looks determined. Now I'm already there at the platform. I get up because I'm doing her lift out. So she gets in. She gets tight. The shoulders are pulled back. All right, she's ready. We give her the unrack. I say breathe normally until you hear the calls. I jump off stage. I have to get off before they start.
Yeah,
the bar is set.
Yeah.
And then the ref says, start. She brings it down smooth. The pause is locked on great. Press. All right. We ready?
Yeah, we ready?
Welcome back to the Big Flex, everybody.
Welcome back to the Big Flex.
What are we flexing on today, Adrian?
Well, to begin with, over the weekend, we had a very successful powerlifting comp. So
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about that right off the bat.
I think that's actually the theme for the entire podcast today. We're doing a Novice Powerlifting Comp recap from the Mega August Novice Powerlifting Comp that was held at Ruchi's Gym here in WA.
Yeah.
Because our state is better than over east and we're allowed to do stuff.
Hey,
Victorians,
best place in
you
the world
stay home, you
to
stay
live.
away from us.
Isn't that fun? Perth went from like the most boring place to the best place.
It was never boring. People that say there's nothing to do in Perth,
Just never went to the beach.
they just never did anything good. That we have lots of stuff we can do here. Thank you very much.
Yes, so excellent, awesome. It was a really fun weekend as well.
Yeah.
it was so much more fun than I thought it would be.
Right now, I've coached at a fair few powerlifting meets before, so it wasn't anything new to me. It was the first time taking one of our clients, Jess, through a powerlifting meet. So it's always fun watching people, and Megan's first powerlifting meet too, even though she's competed in strongwomen before. So it was nice to be able to take two people through a new form of competition that they haven't been exposed to before. So that's always fun. But it was your first time doing the coach. It's called being a handler. You're being a handler on the day, and you're coaching them through the day. Yeah. You're an athlete. You're a handler.
More official. Yeah, I've watched before, and I've like been there in solidarity and supporting friends and clients, but I've never actually coached anyone through one. I've never been a handler before, so it was interesting to figure out how everything works properly and see it all in motion and see you in comparison to a few of the other coaches and to see what other people are doing. And it was a good experience. I really enjoyed it.
Nice. So for those that have never been to a powerlifting meet before, we can sort of give you a rundown of how it goes, and then we'll talk about what happened at this meet. So basically, powerlifting is squat, bench, deadlift. You've got to do 3 attempts of each lift, and you have to have at least one successful attempt per lift to get a total. And then whoever has the biggest total in that weight class wins that weight class. Now, there is a formula that all the totals go into later and to see who wins the whole competition. But because it was a novice comp, they didn't take into, they didn't really, it wasn't first, second, third on totals or on formulas, coefficients or
a bit more of a cruisier day.
It was more so getting everyone, all the competitors that hadn't competed before. I think you're allowed to compete in 2 novice comps. So, once or twice, none or once before.
Is that like I know in a few other competitions, the people who run the event reserve the right to bump you into a higher category? Like if you've done a few novice comps before and you are crushing it, instead of just constantly crushing it, they reserve the right to like only let you compete in higher events? Or
I'm not sure if, to be fair, that's the Rucci brothers that are running the comps. It's a GPC, it's a novice comp, so it's not, I don't know if technically an affiliated comp with GPC yet, but it was run on GPC rules. I think, they could. It's their gym and it's their competition. They probably could do that, but I'm not sure that they would. I think that's more or less you compete once or twice in a novice comp, and then you move up into the proper comps, whether it be, Western Classic or GPC States or, trying to qualify for nationals. So, but the novice comp is great because it gives people, the athletes and competitors, a really good insight into what they need to expect for a real comp. And they run everything really, they run a tight ship. It was really cool to see.
They did actually. That was good to get the hang of that. Like how many athletes there are and how many warm-ups they're going to do, like how many attempts they're going to do, and then where your athlete should be warming up and preparing and getting ready. And you were running a very tight schedule throughout the whole day.
Well, I had everything written down. And
Yeah,
and you got to make sure you got to be able to deviate, but you got to keep things pretty tight.
Anyone else with a pad writing
Well,
things
no one
down?
else had a bum bag, and if you don't wear
they
a bum
did
bag
not.
as a coach, are you even actually coaching? You got to
Hey.
have a bum bag with all the goodies in it.
That is, we had 2 athletes competing, 4 PBs, both athletes. And I mean, I don't want to say it's just because of the bum bag, but it definitely played a big role.
If there was no bum bag, it probably would have been 1 PB. 2. No, I was kidding. They did a great job. They did well, but the bum bag helps for sure.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. That was handy.
But basically, the way a powerlifting meet runs is that you have flights of competitors. So in this competition, there was 4 flights. There was 2 in the morning, and then there's 2 in the afternoon. 2 sessions they competed. They said all the guys come to the afternoon, all the ladies are in the morning, and they had basically 2 flights in each one. And basically, they run flights because if you have too many competitors, it takes too long to cycle through everyone for one lift. You'd be waiting too long. So generally, you're going to have between 10 and 15 people in a flight. So the 2 morning flights, there was, I want to say 12 in one flight and 14 in the other. So, or around about those numbers. And so basically, flight 1 warms up by themselves for the squat, and then they get out there, and then you do it in ascending order of bar weight. So the lightest squat starts, and then you work up because you have to allocate your numbers. So before the comp, say my opener is going to be 50 kilos or 100 kilos or whatever your opener is going to be. And then if you miss it, you might want to try to repeat that because you can always repeat. You can't go down though. Or if you're feeling really confident it was a silly mistake, you might increase. Or
So
if you get it,
your numbers before the actual competition.
So Megan and Jess, the day before when they weighed in, they also set up on the racks and the equipment there, said, all right, this is the height that I want it to be set up for me when I'm on the platform, and this is the number that I'm going to be attempting for my first attempt.
Yeah, and then all of the bar loaders and everyone, they've got their run order, they've got their list, and they actually ran a really tight ship. They were saying at the beginning of the competition that they give you 60 seconds to do your lift, and then the people loading the bars and changing the heights of everything within that, like 30 seconds in between lifts, were getting everything sorted on set, and then they just call your name and you're ready to go. It was really, really efficient, actually.
Yeah, it's very efficient. It's super quick. Quickly, They actually have some really cool programs now. So basically, I don't know if you saw this, but inside the competition area, there's a big screen. And so when it says next competitor is this is their weight. And then it had a picture. It said it would be like red, blue, collar, and basically that means, all right, put a red plate on, put a blue plate on, put a collar on. Yeah. So it's really good. It helps with misloads because, before people were using a lot of programs like that, people might just make a mental mistake and misload
now it tells
the bar.
You exactly what to do.
Right, and there's still misloads. You got to keep an eye on the loaders all the time. But also, but it is a bit easier now.
Behind the stage as well, where the athletes are competing, there's a screen where what is happening is being filmed in real time, so you can look at the screen and watch people do their lifts. But also the run order, there was a blue, red, and green.
Yeah, blue means they're setting up for it and the lift hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And then if they make a good lift, it's green. And if they fail a lift, it's red. Correct.
So you can see what's happening and keep track of how everything's going. It was really, really well run.
It's fun, right?
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
And so basically, flight 1 would run through all of their squats. Let's say there's 14 people in flight 1.
The first, second, and third.
All 14 would run through it. And then it would go back to the first person again, or whoever had the next lowest amount. They start the second round. And basically, they go through all 3 of their squat attempts, and then that's flight 1 done. And then flight 2, which is where our 2 athletes were in, they go in and do all 3 of theirs. So basically, when flight 1 is competing, flight 2 is warming up, right?
And vice versa.
So when flight 2 is warming up for squats, flight 1 is now warming up. When flight 2 is competing for squats, flight 1 is warming up for bench press. Then when flight 1 is doing bench press, flight 2 is warming up for bench press, right? So we rotate through like that. And sometimes there might be 3 flights. Right, so you'll have a flight where you don't do anything, and they're the longer days because you have to sort of make sure you're getting food in, make sure you're staying hydrated, not eating too much,
not cooling down
all the way, still maybe working a bit of mobility. Luckily, it was a fat because there's only 2 runs. It went through a bit quicker, so there wasn't much waiting around at all. Actually, it moved through very quickly, which was great. But yeah, timing. You touched on that before. Timing is a big part in a powerlifting competition because. And you said you noticed this as well. Even though there was 14 people in our flight, we were looking around. But when we were warming up, there was really only maybe 2 or 3 other people that were warming up, and we were warming up.
It looked like a lot of people did their warm ups, and then they were just kind of standing around watching. And it moved through a lot quicker. You have 60 seconds to do your lift. You to walk out there, do your lift, leave, and then it just take about 45 seconds to about 1 minute and 20 for them to get a full turnaround to the next person.
Yeah, it's not long.
And it didn't even take that long. A lot of people just walked straight up to the bar, hit their lift and left in under 30 seconds. So it could go anywhere from the 12 to 14 people in the flight. It was 10 minutes to the full 14. And it never took the full 14. No. So it was about 10-minute turnover in between It was really good.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't think it would go that quickly.
Yeah.
But
So I think that some people, and this is because it's a novice comp, not everyone had coaches and not everyone had a lot of experience. So they would do all their warm-ups. But you got to realize when you're warming up for a squat or a bench press, well, especially because it's a novice, you're not lifting crazy heavy numbers. Relatively it might be quite tough for you. But if you're, let's say, opening at a 60-kilo squat, you might only want 2 warm-up sets or 3 warm-up sets after a little bit of mobility. And people were seeing, all right, flight 1's out there, and they were doing all their warm-ups, and they'd be done before the first rotation. They said, "Well,
standing around for 10 minutes waiting, right?
Standing around for 20 minutes because you got 2 more rounds to get through."
Yeah.
So that's why a little bit of experience comes into play. So when we said, "All right, flight 1 for the the round 1 of flight 1 is starting," we're not going to do any warm-ups yet. We're just going to do our mobility work. So that's where I send them with you. You're doing inchworms, band work, keep them moving, and get them sort of ready to start warming up. Then you need to look at where your athletes are situated in the flight. So we had
Jess and Megan.
And
one started warming up through their second round. One started warming up through their third round. You were all over that.
Yeah. So basically, Megan, because she had quite strong lifts, she was usually on either the last or the second last lifter to go out, whereas Jess was more in the middle of the pack. So we made sure Jess was getting her warm ups in the middle of round 2, whereas Megan was waiting to the end of round 2 to start.
Yep.
And then we're getting our second and third, sometimes a fourth warm-up set before they get out there. But basically, we're timing it where even with Megan, she might even be doing her final warm-up set when the first person from our flight is out on stage.
Yeah.
Because we still know it's going to take 10 to 14 minutes before she gets there.
Yep.
So enough to get a big lift in. You don't want to be maxing out on your warm-ups, but you want to be getting close to your opener. Yep. And that's the thing as well, picking your openers. Right?
Yeah, it didn't look like a lot of people that were warming up. They weren't really doing any calculated jumps. They were just kind of casually warming up.
Some people definitely had calculated jumps.
A few did, but I noticed the majority didn't. And I guess, it wasn't.
That's just an experience thing. But that's what's so fun about these novice comps is that people figure it out. This is where they're figuring out these things. So, and I'm sure a few of those ladies would come back and be like, you know what? I just warmed up too quickly and I was standing around for half an hour.
Yeah.
Spread that out a little bit better.
Yeah.
And it was really nice for me because normally in the past have been coaching by myself where I had Adrian helping me. So I could send Megan and Jess to him before they hit the stage. And he can be his nice calming voice and take a breath, relax. Just think about you, be in the moment. Think about your lift, all right? Don't worry about anyone else. Listen for your calls. It was very zen. I was impressed. I was like, I'm going to let you do your thing. I'm too much of a hype man. I'm out there. I'm sitting on the other side of the stage. I'm sitting going, I'm going to step back here. Going, ready? Up, hold!
I've got a couple of those on
and then
the video.
Nice.
Zoom in on your face, just like yelling as loud as you can. They were really good. Yeah, that's actually something that they said as well.
Yeah.
So you were hyping them up like crazy, and I calmed them down right before they went out there. The beginning, actually, the first lift for both of them, they were a bit nervous and scattered jittery, and then we kind of kicked in, and it just worked really well.
The first lift is always going to be jittery, and because it's a squat, people drop down real quick.
Yeah.
Do the old stripper jump. Pow.
That was something that Megan said actually. She's like, I forgot to breathe. I was like, just take a breath. Focus. Yeah, that was good. I actually thought we performed quite well as a team.
It was nice. And then that made it easier for me because I'm already there next to the officiating table. And so what happens after your lift is that you then have to tell them what you want to do for your second lift. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, I have my little bit of paper that I've been writing down, talking to the ladies beforehand. This is what our ideal goals are. And if things are going to plan, this is what we're going to do. If they don't go to plan, this is our backup numbers, right?
Yeah.
And so that was good. I look at the lift.
Not letting them get too disheartened if they don't make a lift or too excited if they do make a lift.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's tricky. And we'll talk about that in just a second.
We will.
We'll talk about that in just a second. But yeah, that happens. And that will happen all the way through levels of competition. People get too excited or they underestimate or overestimate. And so it's sometimes good to have an external eye on your lift because obviously as coaches, we can't feel what the competitor is feeling. We can only judge off how fast the bar moves and how much they look like they're straining to get that lift, right?
But that's the difference, I think, from being an athletic competitor in that environment where you might get your opener and you might hit your second lift and you might feel amazing and you're running on a high and then overestimate just a little bit and then say that third lift where you're going for that PB, you don't quite get it because you just got a bit too overconfident. Whereas an objective eye, like the coach, being able to actually reel you in a little bit and just make sure that you hit the numbers that you were there to hit or even push harder or back it off or, like that makes a big difference for your total numbers for the day.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's the thing as well. So the end goal, if you're in a competition, is probably not to I want to get a PB on this lift. Like, I mean, there are definitely sub goals. There are goals out there. I want a PB on my lifts. But the big goal, if you're competing on stage, is to win, more or less. And that's the biggest total.
Yeah.
So you can have the biggest squat and get a 20 kilo PB, but if you do a terrible bench press and a terrible deadlift because you've missed your second and third attempts because you're overreaching, well, then you're not going to win the comp. And no one cares what your squat is if you come dead last.
Exactly.
All right?
Yep.
As much as that pains me to say, because I do love a good squat.
Yeah. But that's what it is, right? It's all strategy.
It's strategy.
all about the day.
And so this is more of a fun day because it's a novice comp. They weren't working for totals necessarily.
Yeah.
In 3 weeks' time, when there's GPC states and Megan will be competing again, she will be working for the biggest total because she's going to want to win that comp. In saying that, ideally, you want to get PBs on your squat, bench, deadlift, and total. They get 4 PBs, which they all did. And it's only 3 weeks away, so we're going to see how we go. But I've got a nice little, pretty actually horrendous programming for that poor lady for the next 2 weeks. It is heavy before her deload.
She's going to thrive. She's going to thrive off of it.
It's going to be good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do want to touch on that external eye. So basically,
something that happened on the day,
right? What we're going to talk about, Megan, right now, is that we had written down.
This is what you get, Megan. This is what you get for not listening to your coach. Now you're going to be a case study for everybody.
75, 85, or 70, 80, 85 were actually her original 3 goals.
For bench?
For bench press. 75, 80, 85 kilos, right?
So before the bench press, everyone squatted first. Bench press, she had an opener, middle, and she crushed all of those and hit those numbers really, really well.
We changed it a little bit. So it was originally going to be 75, 75, 80, 85, because her PB here in the gym was 82.5.
Yeah.
She has done an 85 with a pause, but it was really shaky and it actually wouldn't have passed in a powerlifting meet. That's why it's not on the records board, right? Yeah. So her goal was to get an 85, which would be a PB and a really nice place to move from. The way we'd also, one of her big goals was to get a 400 kilo total.
Yep.
And that's really impressive, right? So she wanted a 400 kilogram total. So the summation of the combination of her squat, bench, and dead. And the numbers that we had planned out, get you right up around to that 400 kilo total. Yep. So basically, she nailed a 135 on a squat.
She did.
The bench is going. She nails 75. We say, there's no point doing 80. We're going to go straight to 85 because it looked quick. We do the 85. So I'm great. All right, quick mental math. If we do a 90 and she gets a 175 deadlift, we're at 400. Now, her PB for a deadlift is a 172.5, and I think she's got 175 in the tank.
Yeah.
So I'm like, great. So let's go for 90. And she's like, comes off the bench, and she's full of adrenaline. She just got a PB. It moved well. It wasn't lightning fast, but it moved well.
She got a PB for her squat as well.
Yeah, she PB'd a squat. Now she's PB'd a bench
running
press,
on a high,
right? And she had
press.
some more kilos in the tank for the squat too.
She did.
So she gets up. She's like, I want 92.5. I'm like, whoa, hey, let's have a look at the sheet.
Yeah,
and she goes, I felt really good. I'm like, it looked good. I think 90 is definitely there. I think 90 is definitely there. And then we're in a really good position. She's like, I want the 92.5. I'm like, all right, you're the athlete. In the end, it's up to you.
Yep.
She goes 92.5. Now, third round comes in, and she gets down. All right. I give her the lift out.
I'll give her
I give her the lift out. I'm going through play by play.
Go for it.
We lift out. So look, first of all, bar is loaded. That means you have 60 seconds to get there and start your lift. She walks out on stage.
Before that,
Adrian's giving her the ammonia.
The ammonia sniffing salts, right? It's like take a breath, Megan. Take one deep breath. Focus on what you're doing. Then I want you to set. Once you've got you set up, focus on the bar. And I want you to get the let out. I want you to focus first, get everything set, just let it go quiet, and then give it everything. And what I said to her, I was like, you're stronger than all the other women here. Show them why you are. That's what I said right before she walked out.
So she walks out. She looks determined. Now I'm already there at the platform. I get up because I'm doing her lift out. So she gets in. She gets tight. The shoulders are pulled back. All right, she's ready. We give her the unrack. I say, breathe normally until you hear the calls. I jump off stage. I have to get off before they start.
Yeah, you do. You
the
have to
bar
run
is
away.
set.
Yeah.
And then the ref says, start. She brings it down smooth. The pause is locked on great. Press. She drives. It's hard. She's shaking. She gets it just past halfway. And
she just didn't get it.
She misses the lift.
She just missed the lift. She got three-quarters of the way up. It looked so good from where I was standing. I thought she had it. And it was just past halfway. And she just didn't. It was so close.
Yeah.
She didn't quite have it.
You didn't even press your...
Which one for that?
I
you
thought
mean this one?
Oh no! So basically, she comes off stage, and I am fighting now every fiber of my being. I'm using every ounce of self-restraint not to say, I told you we should have gone 90, right? Because she would have definitely nailed the 90, but you're not going to say that mid-comp because you've got to get her head back in the game.
And she would have. It was
she would have nailed the 90 for sure.
She would have nailed the 90 and it would have nailed the 90 good too.
And all that means now is that strategically, with deadlifts, was going to be a 155, 165, 175 attempt.
Had to be
if we want the 400, she needs to hit a 180, which is now a 7.5 kilo PB.
Yeah.
Anyhow, she gets out there. She nails the 155. I said, all right, that looked great. Let's go straight to 170.
Hold on. Before we even get to the deadlifts.
All right.
That is actually a really interesting point. It's what we were talking about before. Like, she got a little too cocky. She was running on a high. And then instead of listening to...
Well, I don't think it was cocky. She was having a great meet. She was lifting really, really well.
She was.
It's not cocky at all.
Okay, so then
it's
not cocky at all. Maybe
It's a different... It's like when you get out on stage and that first rep, you're just so like... full of adrenaline that you just like drop into it, like because you're not centered. You're just so full of adrenaline and everything is shaking and everything goes so quickly, and that's what it felt like. So, she just got a PB. She's full of adrenaline. The crowd is cheering, and so she's like, I can nail 92.5, which is a great attitude. So it's not cocky. I think it's a great attitude to have.
Maybe it wasn't. So then it wasn't cocky. Maybe she just slightly overestimated because of how good she was feeling.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So that goes back to what we were saying before about the coach being there to kind of reel you in if you get either too high and too low. And then that's what happened next. So after that, she changed her mentality changed a little bit, and she was a little low, and you could see it. She was a bit sore after really pushing. She put in as much effort as she possibly could to get that rep. And so getting back into the deadlifts, then she did her opener and I was just trying to really gently get her back into that mindset because I could see that she was on a bit of a downer and she needed to get those bigger numbers to get the total, right? And so you could tell in her head that she wasn't quite where she was on that high and that like really powerful mentality that she had. So over the course of the next 3 lifts, I was just like quietly in the background, just really gently right before all of her lifts, trying to hype her up without being like, oh my God, you're amazing. You could, because she was on a bit of a low. So that was kind of fun to experience that and then see how you were treating her, see how she changed. Like her motivation kind of dipped a little bit, and then like watch it go right back up for the deadlifts, which you're about to bring up.
Yeah, which she
fantastic, blow by blow.
Yeah, so then we have to. Well, we had to then just reassess our moves. It was going to be 155, 165, 175. I said, now if we go 155, 165, it's a big jump to get up to 180.
Yeah.
So I said, all right. So what we do is we're going to see how it feels, and she goes, we just have to see how it feels. So the 155 flew up. So right then and there we said, all right, well let's go 170. Because then it's a shorter jump to 180.
Yeah.
But if it feels real tough, we can still pull back and go for a 175. You still get a PB on the deadlift.
Yeah.
Right?
Not necessarily a PB for the total, but a PB
Correct.
for the deadlift.
Anyhow, she goes out there, nails the 170, puts us both in full confidence for the 180, which she goes out there and crushed as well. So she ended up coming away, 3 PBs from 3 lifts plus a PB on total.
She redeemed herself. It was good.
But they both did so fantastic. And Jess also got 4 PBs. So PB'd all 3 lifts and the total. And that's kind of fun as well. You actually made some gifts.
I did. So this probably made the whole day for me. After every single one of the PBs that she did, we got videos of everything. We're filming everything. She literally jumped for joy. Quite literally jumped off the bench. There's a screen right behind you when you're lifting, and it shows. If you've seen the Olympics before, they give you the green lights on those Olympic lifts.
White lights.
White lights. Like they do the same thing. So red or white lights, and at the end of your lift, you do your lift, and then you look up to see if you got a legal lift or a no lift, and you see her get up and look, and the second it registers in her head, she literally jumps up in the air for all 3 of the PBs that she got. It was great, and I made a couple of GIFs out of them. I've been sending them around. It was good.
It's quite funny because
it is.
After the first 2 lots of bench press, after the first bench press, she's like looking at me, like, did I get him? Like, well, yes, look, that giant TV screen that has 3 white lights. Yeah, that's you. That you got it. She's like, oh. And so then from then on, every time she looked up, she's like, yeah, and just jump up, pumped, It's
good. It was actually quite good to see it because a lot of the other competitors were just like excited or they'd be a bit vocal, but she was the only one that was quite literally jumping for joy,
which was great.
It was great.
It was really good to see.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It was. She put in a lot of work. She put in a lot of work up to this point.
She's put in a huge amount of work.
Yeah.
I think as well, it's good to mention that where Jess was coming from, there's a little bit of background on both of these ladies. I mean, Megan is really strong. She's WA's strongest woman in strongman for 82 kilo weight class. She's dropping a weight class, getting into powerlifting now, which is fantastic. Jess hasn't had the background in strongman or in powerlifting, and she's just been training for about the last year and set this goal for herself. She had to weigh in. Even though the weights didn't really mean much because you're not going for weight class, winners in the novice comp, They still make you weigh in, so it's like they can put you into a correct flight, and so that it's getting the feel for the real deal.
Yep.
And she, to make the record board here, she had to make a certain weight class. So she worked really hard to make that weight class, and in making it, marked a 60 kilogram body weight reduction from where she started, a little over a year ago, which is phenomenal.
Huge for a
so
year.
It's a bit over a year now that she's been losing weight, maybe a year and a half even, but even so, phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge amount of weight to lose, and not to mention losing all that weight, confidence and self-confidence has skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And strength has rocketed up as well.
Absolutely.
Because she hasn't actually been training for powerlifting for that long. We were just doing general strength and fitness.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until...
And where she placed in that novice comp as well, a lot of the other athletes had been lifting for quite a while. A few of them had been...
A few of them were fresh, but a few of them
had been lifting for a while. And she stacked up well against...
I believe, and we had to check the website, that she came second or third in that weight class, which had 8 competitors in it, which is great for her first one. So she's pumped, full of confidence. We're going to get her stuck into the next. She either is going to do another novice comp coming up at the end of the year. If anyone pulls out of states and is willing to sell their admission ticket, she might even try to jump in for states in a few weeks. But she's definitely going to compete at the end of the year. But I think we're slowly now building a bit of a stable of athletes that are going to be jumping in. And we're going to be doing it too.
We are. So we decided that we are going to be doing a big group event where we're going to get as many members from the gym as we can to. So I'm not sure exactly when.
I want to do it at states,
try?
GPC states next year. Now, they're holding states in a couple of weeks. Normally it's earlier. They had to delay it because of COVID. So it's going to be somewhere in the 8 to 12 month range from now.
Cool.
Okay. So that is going to be my goal at least. I know Gavin's keen, you're keen, Tita was keen, we got Megan, I'm sure Jess is going to be keen. I've got 2 online clients that are keen.
We're going to get
we're going to get a squad together. We're going to get a squad together. Everyone's going to be wearing the shirts.
Yeah.
And that's going to be different as well, because how do you then be a handler and also prepare yourself? So it's going to be another experience for both of us.
Exactly. Yeah, we're just going to have to do a fair bit more education. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. I was actually thinking about this while we were there. I was like, well, we're handling 2 people, and it was a little bit of a handful with the 2 of them, just trying to make sure that everything was like there and running and good, and everything went smoothly because there was 2 of us, but for 2 people. So if we're focusing on ourselves and everyone else, we're either going to have way more help, or everyone's going to need to know what they're doing.
No, so basically that just comes down to athlete coach communication beforehand on the day and a bit more preparation. So basically that little sheet that I had in my pocket, I pulled out, it had Megan and Jess, it had squat, bench, deadlift, it had the warm-up weights that I wanted to get through for how many reps, and then it had their ideal attempts, their backup attempts, and what their goals were.
So we're going to need to be able to...
basically each athlete has to have their own code, right? So they can look at it and go, all right, what am I doing? This is what I'm doing. But the likelihood is, if we have, let's say, 8 to 10 competitors, is that there's going to be, 2 or 3 of them in each division, or in each flight at least, which means they should be able to help themselves warm up.
Yeah,
all
so
right?
We're going to have to start training together as a group in the gym, getting everyone educated and like getting them to understand what they're doing, getting them to understand how to do it, the importance of the timing, the warm-ups, all the stuff we were talking about before.
Absolutely.
It's all well and good to have your coach there to tell you what to do and you to just focus on what you're doing, but they're going to have a little bit more involvement.
Then our job is going to be more oversight, especially if we're competing on the same day or in a flight close by and we need to be warming up. We're going to want to have eyes on lift to make sure that they're confident in their next attempt number.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to make sure they have everything before they lift that they need. So any smelling salts, chalk, there's always chalk at the event, talcum powder for deadlifts, all that sort of stuff.
For everyone.
Everyone gets a bum bag.
Everyone gets a bum bag. Yes.
You get a bum bag. You get a bum bag.
And we'll just pre-pack.
Look under your seats. Everybody gets a bum bag.
It's a pre-packed bum bag, right? We should lock and load it full of all the stuff that people need to compete on their own, right? Cool. You get them each like a little flip pad, some smelling salts.
Is this coming out of your wage or mine? Because
definitely coming out of your wage. That seems like an expensive buy.
Yeah, gee. I don't know if you want to volunteer me for that, but thanks. I appreciate it.
I'll write the list of the things you need in the bum bags.
Okay.
I'll do some of the legwork.
Yep. So I think let's just so people, one last shout out to the girls at the comp. So basically Megan, who competed in the under 82 kilo division, 82 and a half kilo division, she ended up squatting 135 kilos, bench pressed 85, should have been 90. And deadlifted 180, which is fantastic.
For a total of 400.
Now, without too much pressure going into states, they did post some of the other girls that are competing. And currently, that is the second highest total. Now, those other totals are older. They might have been I'm sure all the ladies have been training really hard. So she is dumping straight into the deep end, but into a good amount of competition. So I'm really excited to see how she goes at States. Jess also did fantastic, 4 from 4 PBs. Hit the triple digits on squats, 100 kilo squat.
Yeah,
which is
awesome.
Which is awesome. 55 on the bench press, which was one of the slowest bench presses I've ever seen. But she got it in one movement. Did not stop, did not quit. Got the rep up, and locked it out, and held it.
All 3 lights too, didn't she?
She got all 3 on that lift. Yes, and then smashed a 125 deadlift for a total of 280 kilos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did really well.
So yeah, absolutely crushed it. Which is great to see.
Yeah, it was good to see as well. It's not like it was too much of a struggle. They hit PBs for every single lift. It was just consistently kicking ass across the course of the day.
Yeah.
And in comparison to a lot of the other athletes, they were having so much fun with it. It just seemed like the two of them together with I just really enjoyed it. Everyone seemed to have a really good
we had a good support.
It could have been worse.
Yeah.
They could have had more missed lifts.
Yeah.
They could have,
Well, they both went 8 for 9. So they got 8 successful lifts out of 9 attempts total. They both missed 1 bench press. But that's all right.
Well, for a novice comp, it's
fantastic.
Yeah.
Usually you see people make silly mistakes like they move before the refs make the call. Like in powerlifting, you have to listen to a referee's command before you lift or before you rack it.
Pretty strict,
and a lot of people,
actually.
people will not only sometimes technically fail the lift because they can't do it, but because they start pressing and then it comes back down, so it's not one lift, or they might lock out unevenly, or they might just miss up a call and go beforehand because they're so excited that they don't listen for the squat call.
Yeah, so for each of the lifts, there's a ref.
So to go 8 out of 9 is really great for a first comp. And I was trying to explain to Megan, which I'll explain to everyone, is that it's really important that you're trying to get all of your lifts, which sounds obvious, of course, but if you look at all the big records that are set, they're not set on second attempts. They're set on thirds, which means people are making their first and second attempts. So if you want to really be out there pushing PBs, breaking records, it's not about just being, I'm going to be gun-ho hero on the day and just go for this massive number right out the gate. It's like, no, you be strategic, you make your lifts, you set yourself up for a big final lift, and that way you're going to have the biggest chance of getting successful PBs and records.
Well, not even just that. It's not all comps are about that comp. Like there are some comps that are kind of guides getting you set up for the next comp, for the next one,
right?
In a year.
What's interesting is going into States with Megan now are she got the 180. She's already told me I want a 190 deadlift next. I'm going to get the 200 eventually, but I want the 190 next. I was like, fantastic. I said, well, we got 3 weeks and you can definitely get more than 180 because that flew up. I said, but now it's a strategic game because at States, no one cares what your deadlift is. People care what your total is.
Yep.
So if she's in a position where, let's say, she's one of the final lifters on the deadlift and she needs a 175 to get the win, to get the total, the biggest total,
then she's going
we're going to go for a 175. We're not going to go for a 190.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no point in going for a PB, a 190.
Exactly.
Going for a PB.
She can focus more on her squats and bench to get those numbers.
There's always times to PB individual lifts, but you want to go for the win. That's the important thing at a competition where your total is what counts. So a little bit of different strategy coming up, but that will be exciting, and I'm sure we'll do a podcast post States and to talk about how that went.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Nice.
It'll be good to start getting into some more competitive coaching as well. I'm really excited about that moving forward.
Well, there's a lot of stuff going on. So I'm going to be coaching at the Strongman qualifier the week after States, and then there's going to be an end of the year novice comp. There's going to be, I'm sure, a second qualifier for Strongman. So there's a few comps coming up, and we're going to get you down to all of them. It's going to be good. And then Nando's afterwards always sounds like a good treat.
Nando's afterwards was great. That was
rolled on out of there.
It was a fantastic treat. I really enjoyed that. The best part was that it was free.
Well, it wasn't free. The Strength Institute was so happy with everyone's performances that they shouted. But that's all.
Yeah, I think everything tastes better when it's free, but also when you win.
That's right.
Tasted good. Tasted like victory.
Tastes so sweet. Anyhow, guys, I think that's the wrap up for the recap of the novice comp held at Ruchi's gym this last weekend.
Yeah,
fantastic. Thanks for listening. Hopefully, maybe you listened and you're interested in jumping into one yourself. Reach out to us because we can get you ready.
Yeah,
awesome, guys.
As those two amazing women will tell you, they couldn't have done it without us. which was nice. That made me feel pretty good about myself.
Not to toot my own horn, but toot freaking toot.
Toot.
Toot. See you guys. Have a good one.
See you next time. I didn't use it enough.